Radio check. Loud and clear.
Hey guys. Welcome back. We kind of have an interesting thing going here because of some recent events.
Mm-hmm.
We did not
That's
get
one
to
way to
do,
put it.
Yeah, we did not get to do a race preview for what race was this?
Monza.
Oh, Monza. This is Monza. They all start running together.
So
yeah. That's from somebody who hasn't put out her race week post 2 weeks in a row. So I
That's
found
okay,
this
it
thing
happens.
though. If I can't publish quietly to feed or whatever,
Mhm.
then I'm just gonna saw that I'm just gonna post it and then archive, and then it's just gonna pop up 2 weeks later. So I'm just gonna
There you go.
gaslight everybody into thinking that I posted it when I was supposed to.
Exactly.
Anyways, so this was Monza. We didn't really do a preview, so we're gonna kind of do just a quick I feel like this is gonna be a quick overview, before of the stuff that happened before, and then stuff that happened after, up to this point. Because now we're on a break before Baku, so we got good stuff.
Yeah. So what did happen before? Like I can't even think that far back.
I mean, well, the big thing was from our last episode. We were talking about what happens if Logan gets dropped, and unfortunately, Logan has been dropped. He might have already been dropped by the last episode. I really can't remember.
I feel like he might have been.
Yeah, or it was like he was rumored to be dropped.
Yeah. That's what it is. Yep.
It was, and yeah, Logan has officially been dropped. So that was the main thing before. So then it was who was going to race in his place, and it was I think it came down to between Mick Schumacher and Franco Colapinto, and it ended up being Franco. But James Vowles got into some really interesting heat for the comments.
He was taking shots at Mick for no reason.
Whack. But so I need to put it up here. With that, I saw that Mick's mom came. She was dragging him in the middle of the paddock.
Period.
I swear, I saw an article or something about it. I think her name is Corinna. She came and she was like, James Vowles, why did you say that? Talking about for those who don't know, James was like, Mick's just not really that special. Whatever.
Yeah, he was like, he's not even that good. And I'm like, okay.
He really shot himself in the foot because then Toto Wolff. So
was like, he was like, it's fully unnecessary.
So for those of you who are caught up with the iconic moments, you might know about the James It's Valtteri thing. Well, this is the same James. So James Vowles, current team at Williams, used to work at Mercedes. Obviously, was a race engineer for Valtteri for a hot second, and then team principal at Williams left. James Vowles came in 2023. So he's now had the team for a year and a half. And, so James has been there with Lewis, Valtteri, George even. Mick's been reserve for that. And so, so James has worked with Toto Wolff. Well, James screwed up royally, and too much, so much to the point that Toto was like, James needs to watch what he says, because Toto was like,
that was a completely unnecessary comment. Yeah, no. So unnecessary, so uncalled for. Yeah.
And so then James kind of tried to backtrack, but it didn't go well. Nobody bought it. So, but so that was where it was. Mick did not end up getting the seat. Sad. But I still hold the same thing of I'd rather Mick not have a seat because it's not guaranteed. So we have Franco Colapinto, and first Argentinian in 23 years. So a lot of support there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That means you were saying?
Oh, I was just going to say, speaking of like the whole Franco stepping in thing, I posted a TikTok about it and I got a comment, which I kind of was like, okay, that's kind of a good point for why they put Franco in. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But hang on. Of course, now my Wi-Fi decides to be slow.
I've read some things or like things that have been said. Maybe a driver said it and I don't remember. But Franco being in the seat, because he's already like signed, he doesn't really have the pressure. Like the pressure on him really is to just not crash the car. Yeah. He's not really like fighting for a seat. If he has this like ultimate showing out and all of a sudden like, you know, something happens, maybe there's like very slim chance he could get the other Audi seat. Right. Very minimal. They're like the last team left on the grid waiting to sign somebody.
I think it's going to Bortoleto, honestly. If anyone from F2 is going to get it, I think it's going to be him.
Which is so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would
he's
say
also,
he's
that's another rookie going on the grid. And he's an F2 rookie at that too.
Is he really?
Yeah. Because he
there
won
for a while.
No, he won F3 last year.
He won F3 last year.
Because okay. And because he was on Trident, and Trident is like, spoiler, we'll get into the race later, but like Trident, he won with Trident in F3, and now Leo Fornaroli also won with Trident, and so it's like another continuing. But so he's a rookie this year too with Invicta. But so
I found the comment that the person left on my video, but so basically what they were saying was like, I kind of brought up, what happens when Franco leaves, it might be harder for him to get a seat. Chances are he goes back to F2 and then has to wait for F1 to pick him up or, go to another series. And they basically said, like, I think that's what makes it a lower stakes opportunity. He knows he's not racing for an open seat at Williams. He's just there for the experience. So he's getting the slower path to F1. And since he might be going back to F2, he'll probably do more testing as a Williams reserve now. So it kind of builds his resume a little bit, which I was like, that's kind of a good point. I guess it is a pretty low stakes opportunity because everyone knows that he's not going to be there for the long term. And he knows that too. He's not going into it with like, oh, I hope I get signed after I, do really well at this race. His job is just not to crash the car. So I kind of get that. It's a good point. But I don't know. It still feels kind of wrong to just kind of throw him in there.
And it's like, if we consider, so if this is like, we consider this and we look at it as their jobs, like, and like you really can't compare it to like an everyday kind of job, like my job that I have now. You can't really compare it to my job that I have now.
Yeah.
But like, I want to continue improving and moving forward. And, this opportunity has been presented to him that like, he's going back to F2. He will have driven this car for, 9 races. And then you go back to an F2 car. And with that being said, he raced for MP Motorsport, and now he's been replaced by Ollie Kurthi. And so is Ollie Kurthi going to go back down? Like,
that's the thing. I don't know. I mean, I would assume Ollie goes back down because he's not an official,
But then, I think that wasn't a decision I don't think Ollie made for himself.
That's true.
That's true. You call him up, and so then it kind of causes this like weird tension, and I'm interested to see. But we know that Prima now has 2 open.
Yes.
2
That's
open.
So sad. Oh my god, no! I'm gonna start crying. I have been watching every Prima video.
But then I'm reminded of the last 2 open Prima seats that were there. Because the last 2 Prima seats were Oscar and Logan.
I know. Everyone's comparing them to Oscar and Logan, and I'm like, guys, please.
So yeah, that's like also a jump because preview wise, if we're trying to follow our timeline here, Kimi had not been announced yet. Now hindsight, Kimi has been announced. It was announced.
Official.
Yeah, it was announced before free free practice 3. I was asleep, of course.
Yeah, same.
Of course. I thought it was really interesting timing because he crashed the car. So let's finish this timeline.
Let's go back. Let's go back.
Preview wise, we've talked about like Franco was like the big preview thing that was happening. Aside from like everyone trying to figure out when's Kimi going to be signed because it'd been rumored,
right.
Whatever. Kimi's announced for free practice 1 during that time too, if not before. Maybe it was before Zanfor or whatever.
It was way before. I think he'd been confirmed, but he'd have to come in.
Yeah, but so Kimi gets announced for free practice 1. And then for Monza we have F2 and F3 also racing. F3, this is their last race of the season, so the championship gets decided. We've already obviously figured out who that was.
Yep.
Then F2, there's still some stakes going on there, but what's notable about the F3 is like the F3 championship. There was like 4 or 5 drivers in contention leading into the weekend.
It was 6 maybe last week. Yeah,
if Christian Mansell had been able to win both races, he would have had it would have been really good for him.
Yeah, Dino. I think Dino didn't do as well in one of the features, and it dropped him lower in the points. So yeah, it was 7 at one point, which I was like, crazy. We don't even see that in F1 anymore. Like 7 drivers in contention for a championship. Like, and then obviously with the last race and then the beginning of Monza and the sprint and stuff, that's when it kind of dropped it down to 4 or 5? 4, really? So it
ended up being Leo, Gabriele Mini, Arvid, and then Luke Browning. So yeah. And so that was F3 wise going into Monza, and so figuring out who was going to take home the championship. F2,
same,
just kind of still saying after the craze, like, was it the sprint race? What happened? We'll get I'm trying to figure out, because now in the championship standings there's a half point. I'm trying to remember if that was during Monza or if that was during
that. Yes, that was during Monza. No, it was during Monza. It was during the sprint race. It was Dennis Hauger and
Gabriele Bortoleto. It was
Bortoleto. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So they crossed the finish line at the exact, like, down to the 1,000th of the second at the same time.
Yeah.
So rather than, contesting.
And oh my God, it's so funny because it was literally for like the last point. Like, it was literally 8th place of all things. Like, not even like.
So I think Dennis is at like 67.5 points in the championship right now. And I'm like, like, is that necessary?
It's so funny. Just
give them both the point.
But so that goes into Saturday. F1 wise, Kimi has a really great showing out for his testing, and whatever car they're on. I forget which car this is for Mercedes. All the numbers like mix up.
W15, I want to say.
Something. But so he has the fastest lap for the first 5 minutes of free practice, and then he crashes in Parabolica, unfortunately. So I can't remember. I read something, but I can't remember why they said he crashed or whatever it was. But Toto ends up going
fast.
Yeah, Toto ends up saying that it's never been that he's slow, that they have to like catch him up to anything. It's that Kimi goes too fast, and I think
that's what it was. Yeah, he hit Parabolica really, really quick, and his like front right caught the curb, and it just he was going so fast that tiny touch sent him right off, and I was like, you don't see that these days. Crashes for going too fast.
Yeah, but so. And the car that he was driving wasn't Lewis Hamilton's car, it was George Russell's car. And that prompts like the memes. Like, we have so many memes that I could put on the screen right here.
Oh yeah.
Just like literally it my friends like I was like talking about it, and it's like the equivalent of you, like your younger sibling, your mom or your dad telling your younger sibling to like, or telling you to share your toy with your younger sibling, and then your younger sibling breaks it, and your parents don't really do anything. They're just like, you shared, it's fine. This is what happens, because this is what happened to George Russell. Like, the sleepovers that George and Toto have, like, I feel like George is he's about to go on like he's about to some kind of mental something. He's gonna have a mental breakdown, or he's gonna like have
older
identity crisis. There it is. He's gonna have an identity crisis because he's not gonna be the favorite anymore. So he's like,
it's like the older sibling effect, and he's gonna get it, and he's gonna be like, "Damn, they don't care about me at all."
And you see like I'll put up like the picture of like George's face after Kimmy crashed the car, and then like the fact that like Toto was like hugging Kimmy like this, like, around his waist. Yeah, George is like stressing. George didn't get to participate in a lot of free practice too, because
they were still fixing the car.
They were still fixing the car. So yeah, that was that. And then yeah, Franco has good outings. Nothing.
His free practice 2 was really good for Williams in general.
Yeah,
because they came 8 and 9, I believe, 8 and 9, which impressive. But that's just a one-time practice session timing. It never.
Yeah,
it's not guaranteed every time. But.
Free practice 3. Is that when? Did somebody crash in free practice 3? Was that when Nico crashed? Somebody like I could just be like talking, just like literally.
I think someone did crash in FP3, but hang on, we're gonna do some research. Let's see.
Apologies to the listeners. Like, I swear I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I just get on here and I'm like, yeah, this might have happened, and then we just keep rolling.
So, okay, FP3 is when the Williams duo took 8th and 9th. Let's see. I think it was maybe FP2 if anyone crashed. Let's see. I'm trying to find like the lap by lap, but that might take a bit of scrolling. Okay, so Magnussen. It was Kevin that crashed in FP2.
In FP2?
Yes.
It was something.
Yeah, something like that. But
somebody crashed. Somebody crashed at some point.
He ran into the wall and brought the red flag.
What it was, he ran into the wall also at turn 7 at Parabolica.
Yes.
Because it
was like messed up. Yeah, it was newly resurfaced.
Because we started talking in our group chat about how Monza was repaved and how it was throwing them off, and if it like was specific to turns and stuff. So yeah, K-Mag also crashed at turn 7.
Yes. And it definitely was, because F3 someone spun off at turn 7.
Yeah.
F2 someone turned off at 7, and really just like that first like turn 1 chicane also, something was wrong with it. The amount of cars that went off like the exit ramp, where the like styrofoam was, I was like, dang. Like every series someone went off, and I was like, okay, so it's clearly not them, it's the track. Something's wrong with the track here.
Yeah. And like, you see by the time Grand Prix Sunday rolled around, they were in like prime position, because now everybody had done all their races on it, and so they were like,
you could see the line. Yeah.
But so that was that, and then qualifying, Lance Stroll gets out in Q1.
Yes.
Yeah. No one.
Franco gets out Q1.
Yeah, but that's something where that
was kind of expected. Yeah. If he made it further, I would have been impressed. But like, it's his first time ever doing a qualifying session. Like, I didn't think he would make it past.
Q2. You're pretty. I mean, did Fernando Alonso get out in Q2? Yes, I think.
Yes, both the V carbs went out in Q2.
Yeah, because Q3 we ended up with Alex and
Nico
and Alpine. Oh no, was it Nico?
It was Nico. The Alpines didn't make it.
Okay, there was Nico. Yeah. So that, but then McLaren top of the charts again.
Of course.
Lando set the fastest lap for all 3 quali sessions. And so Lando started on pole. Oscar was in P2. George was in P3. Max Verstappen was in P6. And right underneath him was Checo in P7. Crazy.
And the kicker is Checo was above him in Q3 for a good amount of time until he finally set that
Checo
lap.
was above him.
And we were like, we were all in the group chat like, what the heck is going on?
Like,
it's always been ver pair, not pair ver. So what's going on here?
Yeah. So that's how it went. And then within all that time too, F2, F3 races are happening. Yeah. I'm trying to think. The F2 sprint race, like, actually, he did it both times this weekend. Gabriel Bortoleto starts dead last. And sprint race, he climbs his way back up to...
Yeah, it was points at least. He finished with points.
For his half a point. And then he climbs back up from there to winning the feature race.
To a win.
20 seconds to a win. Mind you, he's still a rookie, which is crazy.
Okay, but like, to be fair though, it was because of the safety car timing. Like, that is the tiny caveat. It was the safety car that saved him.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of like Lando in Miami situation where like the safety car came out behind him. So, he could keep racing technically. So that's what helped him. But I mean, it's still like crazy. Like 20 seconds to first. He like fought his way up to like wherever he was before the safety car came out. So, I mean, still pretty impressive for how far he got on his own, at least.
Yeah. Ollie won the sprint race, Monza. So Prema got a home win too. But yes, then during that time, Kimi gets announced as the Mercedes driver for next year. So we now have Jack, Ollie, and Kimi as rookies on the grid. Still praying for Liam Lawson, although he's not a rookie anymore, but we still want to see Liam Lawson on the grid. So, yeah. It was so funny because, like, I don't know if you guys see those like really super, I don't know what to call them. They're like satire comedy or whatever, but it's like the Instagram reel accounts where they like make the funny reels of like the F1 drivers and their team principals and like, this is the plan, and they have funny accents.
Yes,
you know what I'm talking about. Yes. And so they made one, and it was like, somebody get Kimi for his announcement, and then it's like, and that was like Toto Wolff, and so then Kimi comes in, but it's Kimi Räikkönen, and Kimi Räikkönen was there, and like the little George in the little reel was like, boss, this is the wrong Kimi or whatever. It was so funny. But so then Kimi Räikkönen was there. He was in the Sabre garage. It was like, because he had the funny, like he could do the funniest thing ever and show up on the day that Kimi gets announced. And that's what he did.
I think my favorite part though was the Sauber garage, Mattia Binotto being in there.
Yeah.
So and then Mattia was in the garage, and the camera goes on it, and he runs away.
And then, but like at the same time too, in like the media day interviews, they asked Charles about him. They're like, "Did you know that
his face is dead?"
Binotto? And then you just see his like face fall so flat. I'll find it when he like realizes. But yeah, it's like so funny. But then okay, also too, if we're talking about like drama and stuff, we hear James talk more about how like Logan had reached his full potential with the team and all this stuff. And Alex literally sits there and he goes like, something, I'll keep what was said behind closed doors.
Yes.
It's crazy. And then you get Oscar saying like stuff about Logan too, where he's like, he was fast. He had potential. Like he was whatever. Yeah. And so Oscar's literally like vouching, and we see where Oscar's at right now. He's literally vouching for Logan Sargent, and he's just like, and then there's like the other video, like there's so much. I'm like, there's the other video when like James is talking to the people in like the garage or whatever, and like Franco's on one side and Alex is on the other, and Alex is just sitting there like this, stone faced, because like he did not care. He did not like. You read the comments and you're like, I don't know. He really doesn't seem like he's buying this. Like he was like fed up.
Yeah.
But because I mean, Alex
James was complimenting Franco's driving, and he was like, "Oh, you know, he's so fast, blah, 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 and he's doing so great on his first outing, blah, blah." And Alex was just like he never spoke about Logan like this. Like,
yeah. But I think it's because too, we remember Alex went through this similar thing at Red Bull.
Yep.
Like first he got called up mid-season, or he like switched teams mid-season. He was on
the junior,
it was Toro Rosso at the time, I think. No,
yeah, it was.
Okay, he was at Toro Rosso, and then he got switched with Pierre because Pierre had been called up to be in the Red Bull seat next to Max, and they get switched because Pierre wasn't performing. And then Alex gets, that was in 2019. Alex gets to race in the Red Bull seat for 2020, but then he gets dropped with like nothing. Like he didn't have a seat. And, you know, it wasn't mid-season, but it was, he became Red Bull's reserve driver, and then Red Bull loaned him out, and then he got to just stay on with Williams, and so the loan is kind of gone now. But yeah,
I think George like put in a good word with it, like with the Williams family, I think at the time or something. I don't know if they were still there, but whoever was the team principal, he was like, "Hey, I got a guy for you."
George was still there in 2021 because
I think
Valtteri was still there with Lewis during 2021.
Yes.
And then but so crazy things happening.
And the best part is, we've been saying this for months. We've been saying Logan's fast. We've been saying he has the potential.
James. Unfortunately, he did crash the car. But, you know, we run the risk of sounding like Logan defenders and crazy fangirls if we keep saying, even though I will keep saying it. I mean, I don't really care. Like,
God bless America.
We're American, if you can't tell.
Exactly.
But like,
what gave it away?
You can't. I really like. Even if I were in like a job, I can't perform if I don't have like a team or like a boss or something that supports in the work that I'm doing. And you can say like, people can like say like, oh, they continue to support him by giving him another car after he crashed it, by doing this, by doing that. But I mean,
and like the thing is, anyone could have crashed there.
Yeah.
It just happened to be Logan that day. Like anyone could have gone off the road there. But I think like that just added to it just because it was Logan.
The reason why other people didn't is because they got adequate time to test their cars. They got adequate time to get used to it. And Logan, you know, they got him for a dime compared to other driver salaries in 2023.
Yep.
And, you know, but with Franco moving into Logan's seat, we see Williams get more, they get interesting sponsorships now. From
there's a lot
Latin American. Rumor has it that Franco is paying $500,000 a race, like to race. So
I heard it was 4.5 million.
That's over like the course of like 9 races. So it's $500,000 a race.
500,000 a race.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I also read like a thing that Michael Schumacher was also a paid driver. Like when he started, he like paid to race there. So, you know, basically what you need to take away from this is that the money that Franco is supposedly giving Williams to have the seat that he has now is the equivalent of what they need to recover the crash damages leading up to this point. So as long as Franco doesn't crash the car, they'll break even, and it'll be like they lost nothing. That's girl math for you, for anyone wondering.
Exactly. Okay, that's the episode title. James Vowles does girl math.
Yeah. With his Excel spreadsheet.
Yes.
And so, yeah. But that leads us into Sunday, where like, Leo Fornaroli finally gets a win. And it's crazy how it happens because he
my God, dude,
he was leading, he got pole, he was leading for the race until the second to last lap, gets overtaken by Gabriele Mini and whoever was behind him. I can't remember.
Christian Mansell.
Okay. Gets overtaken by them. And then last lap, and you hear him in I heard his post race, and I was like, this is insane. But he's sitting there thinking to himself, I will not this is not going to be the difference between me and a championship title. And then he goes and he overtakes them back on the last lap and wins the championship, wins his first race
corner
of the season on the last corner, wins his first race of the season, and that's what wins him the championship. And it's wild.
Okay, dude, I have such strong feelings about this because listen, I'm happy for Leo. Okay, I'm happy for him. But I was rooting so hard for Gabriele to win that race because he had it. He had it for so long. And oh my God. And then they parked their cars in Parc Fermé. So Gabriele walked over to the Prema team and just flopped into them, and they all were like, it's okay. I was like, oh my, I have never felt so bad for a driver in my entire life. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see every single freaking comment that I left on every single Prema post about him. Because I was like, you know what, this kid, I don't know how old he is. I want to say he's 20. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I know Dino's 20.
Dino's 20. I don't know how old he is. Anyways, that's not the point. The point is, I have never felt so strongly in my life about a race ending than I did with that race. It was 3 a.m. I was exhausted. I see him overtake on that last corner, and my roommates are asleep at this point. I could not scream. I could not express how mad I was at that overtake because he had it. And then they disqualified Gabriele after the race.
Yes, they did.
To add salt to the wound, his car was out of regulation, so they disqualify him as if it couldn't get any worse for him. The kid just lost the championship by 1 corner and a couple points. He was 3 down from Leo, 3 points down. And then they disqualify his car. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then Ivani's just wants to scream.
And then my night just gets worse from there. Because then the F2 race starts an hour later.
So then Gabriele Bortoleto comes and wins the F2 race. Safety car again because of crashes that happen.
Safety car.
So, but that,
and I
go from 22nd to first.
I'm you know what, F2 is starting. Let's go. I'm so excited. Paul's in 3rd. Let's go. First 400 meters. Car flies off the road. I was like, are you freaking serious? I see a silver car turn, and I'm like, please do not let them say his name. Otherwise, I'm going to drop this iPad off my bed. And then they were like, yeah, and Paul Aaron goes off the track. And I was like, all right, wrap it up.
Paul Aaron it needs to be studied. Because he's dropped now too. Who's past him?
3rd now. I think he might be in 3rd still.
I thought he was 4th now.
Is he?
I thought Zane Maloney passed him.
I think Zane's still a few points down, but I can check. But yeah, he would have had the Leo Fornaroli ending.
He still can. We still have races.
He still can. This is true. Oh, yep, he is in 4th. Zane did pass him. My day just got worse.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought he was still there. Okay, well, you know what? We'll be back, guys. We'll be back, I guess. Yeah, you can see the 0.5s on the race. It looks so stupid. What do you mean 154.5? Brother, But yeah, I guess Franco was 7th in the championship, so I guess that takes him off the board now. No, Oliver wouldn't inherit his points. So yeah, he's not winning the championship this year.
Yeah. But so then we get to that race, the F1 race, and this is where my sanity runs out. Like,
this is where it all goes wrong.
Done. Because, okay, first let me preface. All right.
Yes.
So for those of you who haven't figured out yet, I am a Lando fan. Not one of the, like, diehard Lando fans where it's like he can do no wrong, whatever, because I've literally admitted that he can't start for anything.
Yes. No.
I would like to say that in Monza, Lando had a great start.
Oh, yeah. Did not bobble that one.
He did not. Can he get through a lap 1 without not leading? No, he is not going to lead a lap 1. But for all, like, literally, I need to just, like, soft block meme accounts during races because I'll get bored when the race gets boring and go on there. And they're like, Lando bottled another start. And I was like, he did not.
That was a perfect start.
Shut up. Because Lando's start was good. I watched that thing back over and over again from different angles to, like, have the receipts tattooed on my eyeballs. Lando had a good start because you see him get the jump on Oscar and he was like half a car length ahead of him. And then you think they're working together to cover off George, and it works because George has to take the exit whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And around the little bollards. And so Lando did not fumble the start. I think that deserves a round of applause for today. But that being said, lap 1 was so distressing. This is like, I talk a lot of mess about I talk a lot how Ferrari, I feel so bad for Ferrari fans' sanity, and it's coming back to eat me tenfold because now this is like...
Yep, it's on to you guys now.
And it's not because, like, we're struggling or have a bad car or whatever. It's because, it's terrible. Anyways, we get into lap 1, and, Oscar and Lando working together. It's great. Lando is P1 right there at the beginning, and Oscar's P2. George actually falls back after that. George is like P6 or something. Charles moves up P3, Carlos P4, whatever. Lewis P5. But we get to turn 4, and Oscar makes this very brave overtake move on Lando around the outside. Lando had the inside line going into turn 4. Oscar makes this like risky move to overtake him on the outside, and Lando has to brake. It sends him back like 3 places, and Oscar takes the lead. And this is where we hear the infamous. So it was like, if this was an alt title, the alt title would be what? Like, WTF is papaya rules? Because we hear papaya rules come into play. We later learn from Zach Brown. We're sitting here all raced like, what does papaya rules mean? We later learned from Zach Brown that papaya rules means just don't crash. Like, race fans don't crash.
Yeah, don't crash.
But so, I mean, yeah, this is a very risky move. I am not, and so this is where I want to make it clear that I'm not a Delulu Lando fan, where it's like, he can do no wrong. Like, I'm a McLaren fan because I like Lando and I like Oscar. If they were to, like, separate, I would become, like, a fan of a different team. Because Zach Brown and Andrea Seller are getting on my nerves. I like McLaren for the consistency across, like, FE and IndyCar, whatever. But this move that Oscar performed could have been done later. And we get to the end and we see that it costs it honestly cost them the 1-2. And here's why.
Yeah.
Oscar makes this move before there's a sizable gap between P2, which was Oscar, and the rest of the field, Charles, whatever. And so because Oscar makes this move, let's see, I gotta think about this from the opposite side. This is Oscar going around the outside. Here's Lando. Lando has to brake so they don't get both taken out. Oscar's able to go around the outside, but then Lando falls back places, and people are allowed to slot in front of him. And so then we go through this race and we see Ferrari pull off this amazing one-stop with both of their drivers. And it's because they're not having to race and try to make up places. They settle into their pace and they do it very nicely, and they don't have to worry about the deg on their tires. McLaren had to do that all race because they were trying to make up for the positions that they lost. Like, Oscar was continuously chasing P1 to try to get back in front, caused tire deg to his front tires. Lando is trying to get back in a position where he can overtake and get these places back. Eventually they go for an undercut and it works. And so he's able to get back into P3, and that's where he finishes. But he's also constantly trying to have to race and degs his tires. And and then they ask them on the radio frequently, they ask them a couple times, should we try a one-stop? Do you think we can do a one-stop? No, because they're freaking fighting for positions that if papaya rules didn't exist in the first place, and it was clear, put a gap before you start racing, or if papaya rules maybe had been defined differently, papaya rules enacted after there's a 5-second gap from the person behind you or whatever, then they very well could have easily done one stop, and this could have been completely different, because they wouldn't have, the racing that they might have been doing would have been each other. But as soon Oscar's piece was on fire, he eventually got a gap, a big gap to Lando. So we would have seen that they wouldn't even have been racing anymore. Oscar would have been able to settle in fine. Lando would have just, he'd have been trying, but would he have been able to? I don't know. Maybe not on the one stop. And I mean, maybe that makes me a Lando fan, obviously, because now his name is Lando nor if this had happened. But it's I feel like that's just part of the game. What would have happened?
I mean, I feel like it's also the same thing that we see, is when Max was on his win streak. Everyone's like, oh, I hate him so much. Blah, 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 he's too confident about this, blah, 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 blah. And now Lando's in the contention for the championship. Yeah. And now he's, winning these races back to back to back, or at least doing really well to where he's getting the points against Max. And now everyone's like, oh, I hate Lando. I'm like,
so Lando haters, everybody's oh, it's the fan, it's the Lando fangirls, the Lando girls on Twitter, the Lando, they don't actually watch racing, they watch it for Lando. It's literally at this point not, because it's literally, I hear more from Lando haters about Lando than I do from Lando fans. And it's just I've had to avoid, I haven't opened TikTok in days. 1, because of the Logan thing. 2, because of the Lando thing. Because obviously now there's weird tension stuff going on between McLaren and after, which I'm not hating, I'm not gonna hate on Oscar. I think, I said, Oscar's move completely fair and legal. If he was told to race, he was told to race. Yeah, I have opinions about when it should be, but yeah, and we see Lando and Oscar very differently in the cool down room and in post interviews. And we get to a point now where, if you're watching the Sky Sports commentary or bootlegging it from ESPN, like I do, you see Nico Rosberg lay into Zach Brown and be basically tell him, what are you doing? Papaya rules is stupid, and you need to tell somebody who's the first driver. And McLaren would be stupid, and they are being stupid right now, to not give priority to Lando because he is this close in the race. So when we think about and we do these like little calculations about, which in a previous episode we did the calculations of like where Lando would have been up to that point. But like now, if we look ahead, we have 8 races left, I think.
Something like that. 7 or 8.
Something. 7 or 8. But then we also factor in sprint races, and you can still get, like in the case of Max and Lando, you can get points. Yeah. Good points from a sprint race that ultimately could be. Now, I'm not going to say that, like, I won't be one of those fans who will be like, oh, if Oscar had just let Lando do this or whatever, if Lando hadn't given the Hungary position back or whatever, he might have could have won. No, that's stupid. Like, that's some, like, Abu Dhabi 2021 type of stuff. Which I just think...
We're not getting into that.
I'm not going to dwell on it like that because, you know, choices were made. It's whatever. I'm going to hope that it teaches McLaren a lesson to, like, cut the BS and, like, let's do this. But I really, really, really hope, like, I will start to be sad on race day if it becomes evident that McLaren just, like, doesn't, because obviously losing this 1-2 also, McLaren is now 8 points behind Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship. Do you know where that 8 points would have come from? A 1-2.
A 1-2.
I'm just saying. Like, I'm just saying. So I need to start seeing some, like, smart decisions being made. But in recent light, people have been talking about it in, like, the past weekend. So, like, this is the debrief part. It very well could be an Oscar Piastri's contract why Zach Brown has been saying we only have we have 2 number 1 drivers. And it's because let's consider who Oscar Piastri's manager is. It's Mark Webber.
Mark Webber.
Mark Webber, famously involved in Multi-21. Famously partners, like, famously teammates with Sebastian Vettel. Yeah, I can absolutely see Mark Webber negotiating Oscar Piastri's contract. I mean, like, he will not be a number 2 driver. Absolutely not. Not having it. And so I can definitely see that happening, and maybe that is what's happening. But, like, I don't know. I still think I think McLaren can, like, approach it differently. I think that they can define what papaya rules are more. And
I think also part of it is, like, if McLaren wants to win both constructors and championship, like, they are going to have to pick a first driver. And, like, I know I've said in the past, like, it's like, I hate that, you know, the first, second driver thing because it's like, stop prioritizing driver, blah, blah. But, like, if their goal is to end the season with a championship win for Lando and a constructors win, they are going to have to prioritize Lando because right now he's got the best shot. And, like, sure, Oscar's like, what, P4 in the championship right now?
Yeah, he's 40 points behind Lando, and they're separated by Charles Leclerc. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I feel like statistically the only way that Lando would be able to, or Oscar would be able to close that gap is if he won the next 2 races.
It would be if he won, like, and that would have to be Max is, like, out of point contention or DNS.
And Max is completely out of points, And that's the thing, like, Max is never going to be in a position where he's not making some sort of points. So Lando and Max will always have that gap between them, but it's a matter of closing their gap and not getting Oscar higher, because it's honestly easier for Lando to catch up to Max than it is to try to, you know, get Oscar to win every race.
Oscar to catch up to Max, because Oscar can catch up to Lando, but then there's still 60 more points. So there's 100 points between Oscar and Max, and that's hard because that's winning 4 consecutive races. Or just, like, 4 races in the rest of the season. with Max getting no points.
And that's the thing, like Checo's back to doing decent now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like there's a reason every team has 2 drivers. Like otherwise it would just be like, you know, Lando versus Max and then nothing else matters. But every team has 2 drivers for a reason, and it's to maximize the amount of points while still being fair. So, I mean, honestly, like they're just trying to get like every team's goal is like to win the championship, right? Like it's always to have like the driver that wins the championship and have the constructor. They have the best shot with Lando right now. And like as much as I say I don't like the first and second driver thing, Lando is going to have to be the first driver, and they're going to have to prioritize him if they want it to happen. But obviously, you know, with Oscar being managed by Mark, that's not going to happen. It's going to be difficult. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough spot.
Yeah. It was like, I think McLaren needs to like wake up and eat the papaya or something, because like Max himself, the 3-time reigning world champion, has said himself that he does not feel that it's going to be an easy win for the championship. And if he's saying that, and he's not even just talking about constructors, he's talking about the World Drivers' Championship.
Yep.
And you know, obviously Lando, he's not like I'm trying to like get records or anything, because you know it took the boys 6 years to get a win.
Yep.
So he knows that that's not realistic. He can see that, you know, a World Driver Championship can be realistic. Like it's literally, it's like, here's Lando and like here's the champion. He can see
right there
from where he's at, and that's not unrealistic to see, because you think about the number of like we have 8 races left in the season. I think half of those, if not 5 of those, are sprint races. Like, it's that's extra points.
I mean, so, exactly.
Like, really, if Lando were to like, or if not even just like Lando, that's like the person who, if a person can win those, like if a person can be like Max and win both the sprint and the Grand Prix race, that's what is it, 8 points for a sprint race? So that's 33 points.
I don't know math.
I think, I don't remember, I don't remember sprint point value, but I think it's 8 for the winner.
It's 8 for the winner, I think,
But so that's 33 points, and right now, people have been considering Lando's gap just from Grand Prix Sundays, from my understanding. Like, I haven't seen anybody talk about sprint races. McLaren has the opportunity to win the sprint races just like they have been. And but it goes back to the thing of like, if you get back in the position where you have a 1-2 starting from the grid, is it going to be established? Like, if, you know, I completely get like racing and fair racing, and if like it gets down to it, like if Oscar is able to pull away from Lando with a sizable gap, okay, Oscar takes the win. We're focused on like constructors. But if it's like a second and a half, like barely within DRS range, I'm gonna say call team orders, because you have to consider the Drivers' Championship now too. And if you can pull out with a 1-2 and your driver that's close to winning is going to be able to get out on top and get the points, then you have to make the tough decisions. And and it's just like, I was like, where am I going with this too? But also, Lando has stayed consistently with this team for 6 years. This is now his 3rd teammate on this team. He's now in a senior driver role, which typically your senior driver gets first priority, you know? The one that's been there longer, although I wouldn't really say longer, because Lando was there longer, but he still wasn't treated like, you know, he had Carlos Sainz. That's when he pulled up And Carlos was still treated like the senior driver. But that makes sense because Carlos was experienced. But then, again, Daniel Ricciardo had more experience than Lando, so still kind of a senior driver kind of thing. And then, but now Lando is kind of in that senior driver role, and we see it, we look at Fernando Alonso right now, we look at Carlos Sainz right now, although Carlos Sainz, his senior driver will kind of be more of at Williams than I would say it is at Ferrari. And so, like Lewis Hamilton, when George was like first couple of years, you see that like senior driver role and you see that preference. And I don't think that it's wrong to have that preference just because this is like the person who's been consistent. And Lando's saying that he doesn't want to leave McLaren until he wants to bring McLaren to a constructors and a drivers championship. He's dedicated 6 years of his life to this,
and he's
4
right
of
there.
those having a garbage car. Like, I wouldn't say like
and
garbage, like
fast car.
The other cars we've seen,
good. Yeah,
it's not garbage compared to like the back markers, but it hasn't been a car that to consistently win races, and he continued to like stay, and so I think that stands for something too. And so, like, going back to, like, Lando's not here to, like, set world records. Lando could, like, pull a Nico Rosberg and retire after one. Not because he's in a Mercedes type deal, but because he's like, I'm putting my hands up. I'm not sure, because, like, I'm not sure my mental health can take this, because Lando's the one that, like, speaks a lot about his mental health. It's like, I'm not sure my mental health can take this anymore. I got my one championship. I'm done. And we won't know that if Lando doesn't win a championship. Because then, it's like Oscar. Then they can just, like, run wild and, like, whatever. Oscar can win all the championships. Yay.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean,
and I do think Oscar's going to win it. Oscar's going to win a championship sooner rather than later, but I don't think it needs to be this year.
Right now. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm normally not for, like, the team orders or, like, having the first, second, whatever. But kind of like what I was saying earlier, like, they're this close to getting both championships in 1 year and breaking Red Bull's streak. To the, like, even when, like, I'm pretty sure Max also said in that same interview where he's like, it's going to be a hard fight. He's like, I don't think I'm winning this year. Like, he knows that the McLaren is too fast and the Red Bull is too janky at this point to keep up. So you have, like, the 3-time world champion and reigning world champion saying, my car's not going to make it compared to that McLaren. You've got a driver who is consistently, like, he's done, like, 2 back-to-back poles now? I don't know how many poles he's had in a row, but wins the first race back from break. 2 consecutive poles, with Max being in, like, 4th and beyond. So, like, honestly, just, like, from, I guess, like, a business standpoint, if they want to keep their sponsors, if they want to keep their name in the game, you're going to have to win a championship. And the best way to do that is with Lando.
The higher are you up in the Constructors' Championship standings, the more money you get.
Exactly. Your cost cap goes up.
We wonder why Red Bull, like, has the money to, like, let Checo crash cars. It's because they have won the past 2 years, 3 years.
And, like, everyone's like, oh, like, Oscar deserves to have this championship because, he's got the mentality for it. I agree.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. But, like, I agree. Oscar has the championship mentality, whatever. Compared to Lando, I wouldn't necessarily, whatever. That, I see what they mean. That doesn't necessarily mean that just because he has this mindset that's like, okay, we do good in this one night, move on, and not like Orlando, does good in a race and then parties for the next weekend and then back to it. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily, like, define who should win a championship. Oscar statistically is too far back to, like, make it in time. Like, obviously we got sprints and stuff, and he's been known to do good in sprints. So, there's still that chance. But, like, statistically, Lando's got
it would take a freak thing for Oscar to. It's not out of contention, obviously, yet. Like, there was, like, a little thing.
Oh, that, like, he's still in it.
There were some drivers who were out of contention. But, like, so Oscar's still in it. But it's like, it would take a free, like, Max Verstappen is not going to be ahead of the points for 8 races.
Yeah, no.
Like, that's just impossible. That's not realistic. And so,
yeah.
But, like, I don't, and, you know, this kind of goes back to the whole, like, I hear haters talking about Lando, then I hear fans talking about Lando. And it's just, like, they're like, who is he that, like, he gets the right to, like, talk about this, or, like, talk about that? And it's just, like, it's kind of like he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't. Here, like, he gets on pole. In Zandvoort, he gets on pole and he was, like, sad. And then he gets on pole in Monza and he was, like, happy. Like, you see him smile. And they're like, well, is he happy or is he sad? Does he? And it's like, he's not a real champion. He is. Like, in the cool down room when, like, Oscar was talking to, like, Charles and Lando was, like, sitting off to the side away from them and just kind of, like, sulking. It's like, what do you expect? This is who's supposed to be your teammate. Mind you, the one that they emotionally manipulated you with. Literally not.
That's a good point, yes.
A month before, they're like, you're going to need Oscar, you're going to need the team. And
now Oscar goes against him, technically.
Yeah.
Like,
and so it's
that
like,
overtake.
I think that it's, like, totally fair. And it's like, sure, Lando is not Lewis Hamilton. But Lewis Hamilton, if we remember in Mercedes, threw a hat at Nico Rosberg. And, you know, he was younger. He acted of
Lando's just like 24, 25?
Yeah.
He's not going to be like a mature driver. Like, he's not going to be like class act like Lewis Hamilton is now. Like,
but
he's
like,
going to have big boy feelings.
We've
and
seen
he's
Max Verstappen get mad in a cool down room. We've seen, like, champion drivers. We've seen Sebastian Vettel be upset. So it's like I said, you can't actively, like, you can't justly compare Lando to them because he's not a champ. Like, he doesn't have a championship.
No.
But we have to remember that Formula One is one of the most selfish sports. Like, they're out, like, there for themselves because they want to race. They want to win the championship. And so acting in that, like, selfishness, of course, Lando, when his teammate, who they said he was going to need to get the championship, to get the constructors, goes and does this overtake seemingly with no consequences, especially at the point in the race where there wasn't room or safety for them to act like best
it was
race.
Turn 1 on the first lap, unnecessary. Like, we don't need to be overtaken that quick. Like, obviously, if you have an opportunity, go for it, but, like, it's the first lap of the race in the first turn. And it's a matter of trying to get you and your teammate into the 1-2 position. And pulling a move like that put him, like a 1-4, 1-5? So it was like, really, was it worth it to get that overtake, get some cool footage of it? When now Lando's stuck 4 cars back.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I feel that overtake is going to get overtake at the month, but that's beside the point. So,
did Alex win overtake of the month for the double car pass?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, good.
But so and so I think it's like Lando haters talking about Lando in, like, the cool down room. Yeah. In hindsight, could he have acted differently? Yes.
Yeah.
When we consider the circumstances, we've seen other people be upset, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to tell you. That, like, and then, like, that comment in Silverstone or wherever it was, where it's like, Lando has no right to be talking to 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton like that. Again, like, and, like,
big boy feelings. He's having big boy feelings.
Like, they were, like, having Lewis of all people would know that it's not that deep. It's really not that deep, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So it's like, but then also, we are not in we are not in the cool down room. Obviously, we cannot tell. I mean, we can see what they show us. We can hear some of the tones that they, like, speak in, but we're not actively in that conversation. And so a lot of times they're turned away from the camera when they make certain remarks or whatever, so we can't see facial expressions. We can't see, we don't get to hear the after conversations. And like, if we think about Austria, Max and Lando both made comments to media, like, I'm not apologizing. I'm not doing this. Like, if he wants to do this, if he wants to do that. And then we hear back literally the next day or the next race, Lando called me on Monday or whatever. Max called me on whatever it was. So we, like, these drivers exist in relationships that are outside. It's honestly, sometimes watching Formula One is like, like Formula One is just kind of like a, if you think, for those of you who know what Big Brother is, I would kind of say it's Big Brother. Because, like, we see what goes on during the live shows. Like, that's when we get the 24-hour footage and everything that's happening. But then, you know, I personally don't watch Big Brother when I'm, like, doing something else. Like, at 3 a.m. in the morning, they have Big Brother, like, live cams, but I'm not watching Big Brother live cams, so I'm not sure what's going on during this. They don't have 3 a.m. live cams for Formula One, but I don't know what's happening off track. These, we think about all of these to avoid taxes. All of these millionaires live in Monaco. Probably like 100 feet from each other. Like,
definitely.
They see each other.
They go on vacation with each other. They met each other's families.
They take helicopter rides together. They like plane charter together. Like, I really don't think it's that serious.
And like, I think honestly, what we were talking about with the Austria room or was it Silverstone, where Lando threw down the hat and he was like,
whatever. There was something.
Mark Mountain Lewis or whatever. Yeah, something like that. Like, what's not to say that, like, when everyone's like, oh, you shouldn't treat Lewis like that, blah, blah, blah. What's not to say that Lewis was just seeing himself younger in front of him? Because he was acting the way Lewis did whenever that Mercedes incident happened.
Like an article about this today, actually. And it's like, Lewis is 39, almost 40. Lando was 24. That's a 15-year age gap, and a lot can happen in 15 years.
And honestly, Lewis probably was just seeing himself younger, like, in Lando. And he was like, you know what? I didn't mean to act like that as a kid. He's going to act the same right now. I'm just going to let it slide, because there's bigger problems for Lewis to deal with than Lando throwing a hissy fit in the cooldown room. Like, let's be for real. And like, anyone would be mad if they lost a race like that by like a margin. Like, everyone's going to be pissed about that. Like, you can't just be like, oh, if I was an F2 or an F1 driver, I would never act like. Yes, you would. Yes, you would. It's
literally like, it's. So are we supposed to ask them not to react? Like, this is just like a honest reaction. If we think about, for like people listening, I talk a lot of trash about other people's football teams when my football team does not do very well. Like my college football team. So it's like, I am not even on the football team, and I get viscerally upset when like the football team is terrible. But then I am like the first to hype up the football team. Like, going into like college football started over the weekend, and like so like my weekend was like ups and downs, let me tell you. But like
that's exactly
I
how
went
I am
into Sunday morning, and so it's like, but you think about like the players, and like there were like players that I knew outside of like on the football team. Like, I had like some class with them and stuff, and it's like, we allow them to get mad. We like see TV or whatever, and like these people get like, they get mad
all around.
It's like, imagine, I don't know, and it's like, I mean, I just don't know what more to say. Like, if we're gonna treat this like a spectator sport, and like we want something to watch, we want to do this, then we just have to accept the fact that people have reactions, and hopefully if it's a reaction that, you know, doesn't really make sense, hopefully they look back on it and they'll be like, yeah, not the smartest thing for me to do. Let me kind of move on from that. Because Lando, in this cooldown room, could have easily badmouthed Oscar, could have easily, like, acted however. He just sat there. Like, I don't know what more to say about that. Like,
yeah, he was obviously, like, going through it. Like, you could see him freaking, like, head in his hand. Like, he was upset. Like, I don't know why we hold really athletes in general to such a high standard to where it's like, oh, they shouldn't be acting like this. Like, it's childish. It's lame. It's
sportsman. Like, I feel like
they're being human beings.
Sportsmanship has become, like, manipulative because you can still be a good sportsman while still feeling sad that you weren't successful that day.
Yep. Like, you were talking about college football. I was out there Thursday at my college football game, front row of the student section, freaking screaming at our quarterback for making a bad play. Does that mean that I hate our quarterback? No. We still won the game. 51-0. What more can I say? Like, I can be as mad as I want at this quarterback, but, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, like, he shouldn't be acting like this. He shouldn't be like, what is that going to do? It's going to change nothing. Like, and that's the thing, like, I feel like people are like, oh, like, Lando shouldn't be acting like this, blah, 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 like, on Twitter and, like, on social media and stuff, as if he's gonna see it, as if he's scrolling through his hashtag Lando Norris and reading every little comment about himself. Like, the bottom line is a lot of, like, people's opinions on how people should act just will never reach them. So there's no point in making public comments. Like, you're allowed to have that opinion. Let's keep it an inside thought. Like, it's just not going to do anything but get controversy started.
And, like, it's really saying something if you're commenting on how somebody should act.
Yes. If you're taking the time out of your to go on your phone and say, Lando Norris should not
Let's think like about that. There is this phrase called touching grass, and I think you should.
You work a 9 to 5, Jason. Go back to your computer, clock in, get off of Twitter.
9 to 5 and wasting your company's time and resources to be on Twitter, arguing with probably a 14-year-old.
14-year-old, exactly. 14-year-old with a username like LN4Hearts OP81 or something like that. Like, girl, get a life. Get a life, get a job. Come on now.
14, okay. They kind of make them look bad, but they're also 14. Yeah. Their brains aren't fully developed. You know, they're like, they're passionate about something. I remember what I was like when I was 14. You know?
Exactly. It's honestly, like, I always hate on, like, the little, like, the Lando fans that are like, oh, my poor baby angel blossom sweetheart. Like, shut up.
But they definitely should be, they should not be tweeting or posting some of the stuff on TikTok that they post.
Yes.
But it's like, this is a grown 31-year-old man arguing with a 14-year-old. And what does that say about you?
You're a 56-year-old LH fan that's been watching from probably day one of Formula One, and you want to take time out of your day to go on Twitter X and be like, actually, Lando should not be acting like this because Lewis would never.
Yeah.
Social Security office called. Your benefits.
Go get your check. Go if you're gonna be jobless. If you're gonna be jobless, don't do it here.
Like, come on now. Like, go get that check. Go buy Twitter Premium or whatever. Then you can do your thing. Like, do this on Twitter free mode.
And so, but so all of that being said, the real star shining jewel of the race is that Ferrari won at home. Charles won in Monza, like, picture perfect. He's now won his second home race of the season. He won Monaco, he won Monza, and I was, like, getting teary-eyed when he was, like, talking in Italian. It was just like, and then he, like, goes to the media and he's like, if there's any two races that I always want to win, that I'll only win during season ever, and it's Monaco and Monza, I will be happy. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And it's just like, what was this
turning red for Ferrari?
Was this the weekend that, like, they did the Antoine tribute?
That might have been last weekend.
I can't remember.
I think it was last weekend.
I know that like they do it at Spa, and then they do it like on the actual day.
Anniversary, yeah. I want to say it was last weekend, but I can check.
But so, I mean, while you're looking at that, like Charles, you know, Ferrari hasn't won in Monza since 2019, the last time Charles did it.
It was this weekend.
It was, okay. So, yeah. So,
they posted it 4 days ago, yeah.
Like, Antoine thing, you know, and like that playing into Charles. I know that's kind of like Jules is kind of more like Charles, and then Antoine's kind of more Pierre. But they were all like together. They were all like, you know, and so yeah, it was just like a nice.
Oh my god, yeah. And like, oh my god, I almost broke down when I saw JM reposting the Antoine Memorial. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Like, he didn't say anything at Spa. He invited like the hospital nurses that, you know, helped him with his foot after the crash and stuff. So I was like, okay, how is he going to handle being back at Spa and how everything's like talking about Antoine, but like he was the other guy in the crash, you know? But yeah, he posted reposted the photo on his story, and I was like, this is awesome.
And so we got to hear the Italian anthem, and it was great.
Bella got to hear it live.
Like, you know, in like other, so it was a good day for Ferrari. I watched. I was really, 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 patriotic. Like I don't. So, like we have patriotism. I was really, really living it up that I was from Texas over the weekend because Lone Star Le Mans came back for the first time in 4 years, and 5 years something. It's been a while since they've had WEC at COTA. WEC is World Endurance Championship, and COTA is Circuit of the Americas, which is in Austin. And so they also had that. And Ferrari, in their AF Corse, they won 6 hours at COTA, Lone Star Le Mans. And it was the first time that they've done it in like the same day that like 2 Ferrari teams have won an FIA World Championship race or something. And on top of that, it was with Robert Kubica and Robert Schwartzman, which Schwartzman ran FP1 for Valtteri last weekend or whatever. So Ferrari won with that, and then they won with they got second with their third with their second car, something. They had two Ferrari teams on the podiums. Unfortunately, Italian Jesus Giovinazzi, their car had to retire. So sad.
No. He was on pole too. He got pole.
Yeah. But so
heartbreaking.
It was a good day for Ferrari all around. So I got to hear the Italian anthem twice on Sunday.
There you go.
It was great. And at like WEC, so like, you know, F1, there's enough people that like it's easy to get off beat, but like there's enough people, it'll sound on beat because they're all like going at different speeds. Well, at WEC, there was like nobody there, nobody on the track, nobody singing the Italian anthem, so they were just like really off beat the whole time, like completely off. But so yeah, it was a good Ferrari day, and I'll give it that.
Yeah.
And I will say that I would like to. Like, I was not opposed to a Charles win just because I, like, a romanticist. Like, I love all of, like, the good feelings and, like, everything that, like, comes from that. And I even, like, said it, like, the night before the race or something. I was like, maybe, just maybe, I'll hope for a Charles win and McLaren double podium. And I got that, so, you know.
I was low-key hoping that Carlos would make it on the podium.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Carlos to make it on the podium with a Lando win.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe
whatever the position, you know, or, you know, a Carlos win with the Lando podium could go either way.
Well, that did happen. No, that happened already in Australia.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. But so
another
because
one.
Like a Lando win with a Carlos in a nice P2 or P3, especially since we hear that Carlos was got the fastest lap in Miami because he was trying to
get on the podium. Yeah. Did you see that the fastest lap for Monza? The reason Lance swapped tires on the second to last lap is because he wanted the fastest lap point. And
then he didn't get it.
I saw his little initial say in pit, and I was like, what the hell is he doing?
No, yeah.
Lap
because to take it away.
53. Yeah. And I was like,
take it away. But then Lando got it, and Lando, I wish I heard the radio for that if Lando was just I'm gonna go for it. Or if he was can I try? And I think Lando was on a vengeance lap at that point, because this is the second. Sure. I mean, last weekend, it was, he was winning. And so it wasn't hard for him to push to get the fastest lap on the last lap. But this one, I really feel like it was a vengeance lap, being what is actually going on here?
One of these days, Lando's going to cut his radio wires mid-race, so he won't have to hear papaya rules come through his headset. And, it's all hell is going to break loose, I think. And it's going to be interesting. But yeah.
I have to respond to these, to the loyal listeners that exist within the Discord server that I'm in. One of them uses our podcast as her gym listening. So they're roasting.
Run faster. Me. Run faster. Lift heavier. You can do another rep. Get that weight up. Let's go.
They're roasting me because they're if only I had new gym content. And I just want to say, anyways,
what I'm going to say is run faster. You can do another rep.
You can do it. Just do it. Just do it. You can do it.
This is what I've been staring at for the last hour.
Oh, lovely. One Direction is back.
One Direction. I'm hoping this photo gets recreated.
Which photo is that?
That's Paul and that's Dino.
Oh, yes.
When they were in F3 together. So I'm hoping this guy gets a little promotion. And we get this.
We'll see.
Unfortunately, Fred is gone. He's not dead. He's alive.
Fred not being considered for a seat, let's talk about that. If Merck needs somebody, Kimmy should maybe stayed in F2.
Get the hell out of here.
You could have given Fred a seat for a year. Just for a year.
He's racing wet right now, but
yeah.
Get this guy back in.
So is Mick, which Mick's team, they didn't do so hot at Coda. It's all right.
Well,
it's an Alpine in the end.
Well, who did do good? Who did do good at Lone Star Le Mans? Nick DeVries. In this essay, I will tell you why.
Nick, yes, they made the podium.
Put Nick DeVries back in that V-carb seat, so help me God.
I don't know if we should do that now. But so
just make him reserve or something.
This has been our Monza preview and recap all in one. To leave you with a final bit of a little bit of farewell news. It has been rumored that Adrian Newey is signed with Aston Martin, and we will probably, we'll probably have an episode between now and Baku. I do not expect not to. Yeah. So in our next episode, the first thing we could do is confirming that, in fact, Adrian Newey is signing with Aston Martin and going there. But I think that leaves more to be studied too, because Adrian Newey's last day is this week, supposedly. And the Red Bull car has still just been not great. So I'm very, very interested to see. Honestly, at this point, the work's kind of more on the 2025, 2026 car. But Adrian Newey still had a hand in the 2024 car. So
I think when Adrian Newey leaves, lights are going to go out in Baku. What happens? They start off the line. Red Bull goes. It falls apart like a Lego car. Because whatever magic that Adrian Newey had holding the car together, it's just gone. And then
Yeah, it
Lance
just
Stroll World
disappears.
Championship. You heard it here first. Lance Stroll World Championship is happening now that Adrian.
Let's not.
Lance Stroll is going to win the next 20 races. He's going to win the next 8. Out of nowhere.
I think if anybody deserves a world championship at this point, it's Fernando Alonso, because he's switched from crap team to crap team. Like,
yeah. You know what? Lance can be like a runner-up or something, I guess. Honorable mention.
Yeah. Something like that. So, yeah. That, I mean, I feel like we've talked a lot, and there's just been thoughts flying all over the place. That's fine. Mm-hmm. I think it makes for entertaining listening.
You know what? Yeah. Clip it and ship it. Get it out of here.
So,
let's like the most controversial part and put it on the internet. Traffic.
We're making moves, guys. My revolving door of studios will be revolving no longer. Pending. Stay tuned. But yeah. My life is finally also kind of being put together. So we're also making moves. Just slow and steady progress.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have my anatomy lab tomorrow. We're making moves. I don't have to go to that anymore. Well, tomorrow at least.
Tomorrow at least.
I don't want to smell formaldehyde for 2 hours again. It smells bad.
Valid. Yeah. You guys know the drill. You can find us on Instagram at Radio Check with 2 R's, 2 K's, and an underscore in the middle. There you can see clips from previous episodes. Go listen back. You can find our link tree. You can find our little Google form to send us questions you might have that you want us to cover on the podcast. We'd love to hear them. Please share with your friends, anybody who, might be interested in Formula One, might not be interested in Formula One. We're a little silly sometimes, and so it's a good listen.
Yeah.
Put it on the way to work. Leave us good ratings, follows. Share with your friends.
Our goal is #1 on Spotify charts, so do that.
We're gonna get there.
Yep.
So we'll be back at some point in this little hiatus. In this little 2 weeks before Baku. We've got we'll figure out something. That's all I've got. You got anything?
Let me think of some really good words here.
For those of you, here I have words. For those of you who just started school, I would like you to remember, started school back, you're jumping back in for the new incoming college students or high school or wherever. If you're going back to school, just remember, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Just ask Ferrari.
That's really good motivation.
Spygate. We love to hear.
Here's my closing words. This is my hot man wall that my best friend made for me for my birthday.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So you guys can look at that.
Are there any F1 drivers on there?
There are not. This was pre-F1, Avani.
Shame.
Yeah. We'll get one next year for my birthday.
Before next episode is to add an F1 driver to that board.
Yes.
Or make a new one.
I'll probably end up making a new one.
With updates.
Yes. It'll be like a whole poster board, I think. I'll take up the whole camera.
All right. We will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
See ya.
Oh my God, guys. I love you so much.